How many of you are familiar with the term brain drain? It sounds a little scary, but it's actually not a big deal. Brain drain is simply the emigration of a number of highly trained and skilled people to a different country. I'm myself part of the brain drain. I was born in Germany, raised in Padua, Italy, and then when I was 19, I moved out to Milan, where I studied for my bachelor's and master's. Like half through my bachelor program, I spent half a year in California, in San Diego, and when I came back and finished my master's, I worked for a couple of years in Italy, but then I found myself longing again for an international career and seeing different countries. And this is when I joined what I think is the most multicultural and international company. And I got shot through first Germany, then Scotland, Italy, the US, and then the drain kind of stopped and I got sent back to Italy. There's a number of studies on brain drain. I picked a couple that I think are most relevant to this audience. The first one is by UNESCO. UNESCO studied a number of international mobility facts, and the one I want to share with you today shows that over the last 15 years, the number of internationally mobile students has more than doubled, actually. And what's interesting is that in those 5 million international students in 2015, 1 million chose as their destination the United States, and another million chose between the United Kingdom and Australia. Now, as these three countries, as I just mentioned, can be considered receivers, so they actually have more incoming students than outgoing students, there are some countries such as India and China that are seeing people leaving more than the ones that are coming in. So there's a sort of an unbalance there. So there's another study about the OECD that says that at the beginning of this millennium, the United States was the #1, let me say, supplier of tertiary educated young people between 25 and 34 in the world. Today, with about 70 million young tertiary educated people, India and China represent 40% of that population. Now, some say brain drain is a problem and a social threat to underdeveloped countries because the people that actually have the capabilities and the skills to get that country out of poverty are leaving. However, some argue that if there is no opportunity in that given country, they wouldn't be able to help anyway, and it makes more sense for these people to leave and seek opportunities outside, and maybe come back one day with more experience. Now, for sure, the countries experiencing poorness and underdevelopment are challenged the most by brain drain. But there are some instances in which some countries have been able to flip the situation and get people to come back. And this is an example I want to talk to you today, is Taiwan. Through the second half of the 20th century, Taiwan has seen a number of people leaving the country to seek opportunities, especially in the tech industry abroad. Think about the Silicon Valley, but not only. Now, what Taiwan did is they identified 3 main pain points, let's say, or opportunities, if you will, that could help them get some of these people to come back, but also attract new talent. The first one was, of course, to rebuild a network with the people that left, because that communication channel was completely cut off when they left. Secondly, they invested in creating a local workforce that could support those new tech companies in the tech industry, for instance. And last but not least, they invested in the infrastructure. They created so-called science parks, very similar to what the IT giants in the Silicon Valley were offering. And this is how Taiwan was able to sort out its social issue. Now, what does this all mean for countries looking at the future? For sure, human capital retention has to be a #1 priority in the agenda of every country worldwide in the future. And #2, what's in this for you sitting in this audience? Now, as we have seen, the opportunities are growing. Mobility, international mobility is getting easier and easier, and which means for you, it's going to be even easier. Now, on the other side, we have both developed and underdeveloped countries that are challenging themselves to give people more and more opportunities and to be attractive internationally. So my advice to you really is, go check out all the opportunities you can out there. Find what's best for you and what you think is the best fit. Thank you.